Hi, I hope you're all well and welcome back, or if you're new, thanks for checking out the channel. I'm Matt from Distant Sun Studios, and today is the third part in the video series called Inside the Mix. If you've missed parts 1 or 2 and would like to check them out, I'll put links in the description below. Okay, let's go. Carrying on with the final plugin on the main bus, it's the Pultec EQP-1A. Similar to the Chandler Limited Curve Bender, this is an emulation of a vintage EQ. At a first glance, the configuration of the controls can be a little confusing to understand, so let's take a closer look. Moving from left to right, the first 3 controls that work together are the low frequency, boost and attenuation. Then the high frequency, working with bandwidth and boost. And finally the ability to attenuate at either 5, 10 or 20k. This EQ has a wonderful warm vintage character. On the main bus here, I'm using it as what's commonly called a happy face style EQ, adding a gentle boost to the low and high frequencies. I'm boosting and attenuating at 20 Hz. The EQ curve on the boost control is slightly different to that on the attenuation. This means that I can boost at 20 Hz and then add attenuation to remove any unhelpful lower frequencies. This technique is also a great way to shape the low end on a kick drum, which I'll have to remember to cover in a later video. I'm then also gently boosting at 12k with a fairly broad bandwidth, just to add a little enhancement to the higher frequencies in the mix. In this case, I'm not applying any attenuation from the final 2 controls. Let's check out what it's doing. Before starting a static mix, I add the tape, summing and API console extensions to the instrument tracks and buses. I'm not at this stage making any adjustments to the API console, but just engaging the circuits on the preamp and EQ. At this point, it's also good practice to do what's called gain staging. This means making adjustments to any of the recorded levels if required. As a guide, you want to be aiming for somewhere around -18 dB. This will provide a good level for any processing you choose to add later. In Luna, you can easily do this by using the trim function located in the utility row of each track. Finally, I get a good static mix by adjusting the volume and panning on the individual instruments. I tend to build the mix as I would if I was mixing a live band, so I balance the drums first, then add the bass guitar, then the rhythm guitars, and so on. Try to resist the temptation to add any processing and make adjustments other than volume and panning at this stage. By starting this way, any decisions you then make to adjust EQ, add compression or additional effects will be made in the context of the whole mix. You may also be pleasantly surprised how little processing is actually required with the extensions engaged in Luna. As ever, it's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Please continue to leave any comments or questions that you may have below. I read everyone and will always do my best to reply. Next time, I'll be looking at some tracking and mixing techniques for the drums. This particular song also featured Jack Mitchell, Johnny Marr's drummer, on the session. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe to be notified of new videos from us in the future. It really does help the channel. I'm Matt from Distant Sun Studios, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.